Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Lonnie Wright, and I was just looking at the book that I wrote, The Introduction to the Hospitality Industry. From being born and raised in Las Vegas, I have done literally every job you can think of. Front of the house to back of the house is what I bring to the classroom. I want them to know they're going to be responsible and accountable to their job description. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. We have to work as a team. I wanted to get our students to understand this industry through the lens of Las Vegas, the #1 venue the world has ever known for hospitality. In tandem with this book was also the lecture series, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about, how important that lecture series was to the learning process of my students. The #1, the happiest mayor in America, Oscar B. Goodman.
As I say, I take great pride in this institution. It was a pleasure when Lonnie asked me to come here and say a couple of words. You know what I love about CSN? I love the fact that the folks who attend here really want to learn. I have a great deal of admiration for the folks here. I think this is the greatest school in the Valley. There's no question about it.
This book was an introduction to hospitality for my students taking classes at CSN. So the lecture series brought to my students those individuals that they may have read about that were a part of the evolution of Las Vegas. Elaine Wynn came out.
You are capable of making good judgments and good decisions. And not only that, depending on what your answer is, you're revealing that you are a person of integrity.
As well as Sig Rogage. He recruited not only me, but Coach Tarkanian. He has done so much for this community as far as marketing is concerned. Mr. Sig Rogage.
I've been involved in campaigns for president since 1980. 1980, 84, 88, 92, 96, 2000.
When Sig says somebody's gonna hitchhike with you, look out, it could be anybody. Well, guess what? Secret Service drives up and the President of the United States joins us on a flight to the Big Smoke in Dallas. And it was just unreal. Governor Miller.
Ultimately, I did run for re-election, and I found the secret that had evaded all my predecessors. I ran unopposed. It's much easier.
Senator Bryan. Governor, Mayor, Attorney General.
Few things were changing. People had a lot of money after World War II. You couldn't buy an automobile. You couldn't travel.
The hospitality industry is a science, and my students know this from taking my class. When you become leaders of people and understanding this business, the education, you will be an asset domestically or internationally. Also had one of my students to perform, and this particular student was an acrobat. She was absolutely great, a great student as well.
I joined Cirque du Soleil when I was 12, and I started touring the world, starting from Canada and all over North America, Europe, Asia.
We had Mr. Kenny Bayless, who has reffed championship fights that have brought billions of dollars over the years of economic impact to this city.
I moved here in 1972, so a lot of the stuff that Pat and the senator was talking about, I lived it. Matter of fact, I lived some of the stuff that they didn't live. I was lucky to meet Sammy Davis Jr. because he came to my school, and Sammy Davis talked about what it was like back then. He said, a limo would pick me up at the front of the Moulin Rouge, limo me to the hotel. They would pull in the back. He said, I'd get out the limo, go to the express elevator, walk through the kitchen, go up another flight of stairs, and walk out on the stage and perform. And he said, when I got done performing, I turned around and I went the same way back to the Moulin Rouge.
So when your students get involved and they meet and greet and ask questions of those iconic individuals, it really, really works. This can transcend just lectures about hospitality. Depending on what you're talking about, You can also bring in industry experts in different disciplines at the college.
Probably the biggest move in events we've ever made was bringing the National Finals Rodeo here in 1985.
As you will see how engaged our students are and how they enjoyed themselves. If you have industry experts that you can talk to say, come out and tell us what's going on now in the business. We know things change, and we want to give our students the very best education that we can. We are developing a bank of talent for the hospitality industry, domestically and internationally.
As I say, I take great pride in this institution, and it was a pleasure when Lonnie asked me to come here and say a couple of words. I said I certainly would, because Lonnie and myself, how many years did we go back? About 40 years together. Yeah, no, he's not joking, about 40 years together. He was a great athlete at the other school.
Steve Shore spoke to our students. He was an iconic individual that worked with Cox. He was a television personality, lived in Las Vegas for a very long time, has a school named after him.
A lot of people in Las Vegas that had to admit that this town was not ready for the growth that it faced. Neither was the state.
All of these people gave of their time, and I had my students to Google everyone because I wanted my students, for extra credit, to ask very pertinent questions after the lecture was over. I want my students to get the optimal education experience. And by them being in the same room, being able to ask questions afterwards, being able to break bread with our guests, it develops a relationship. When I write and advocate for our students to be hired on the Strip, they know who they are.
There's so many programs in Las Vegas that offer internships, which is a wonderful way to get involved and to find out what a community is all about. And you could use this as a stepping stone. It's great on a resume. And I know the city of Las Vegas has several programs like that, the Convention Authority.
Remember, the name of my lecture series is Let Las Vegas Be Your Classroom. Some of the top iconic people in Las Vegas are speaking to our students to give them the very best, the up-to-date. They can ask questions. Between my book and the lecture series is a 1-2 punch in giving our students the very best hospitality education possible.
The longest running chairman for the Nevada Gaming Commission, Mr. Peter Barnhart.
If you as a hospitality employee, as a gaming employee, do something that affects the viability of a company's gaming license, well, that's a pretty serious offense, and you can cause tremendous problems.
As you well know, we want to keep our students engaged. We want them to enjoy their educational experience. That's why we call it edutainment. Depending on what subject, I would have entertainment for our students to enjoy. The guitarist from the Blue Band Group, what was so funny about it was that he had to babysit at the same time, but he did not miss a stroke, and the kids loved it.
Am I wrong for thinking out the box from where I stay? Am I wrong for saying that I choose another way?
We also had a country western band. We were talking about how Las Vegas changed with their marquees doing the National Finals Rodeo. So we brought out a band.
Johnny's got a gold watch, don't seem like a whole lot. After 30 years of driving up and down the interstate.
The enjoyment of seeing what Las Vegas does when it comes to marketing special events. During the lecture series, I would have all of my domestic and international students to bring in food for us to enjoy. I wanted them to have an enjoyment of authentic food from Japan, China, America. It was an experience that we call edutainment. I'm writing a chapter on micro and macro changes in the business environment, and one chapter is going to be on the effect of coronavirus, how it affected Las Vegas as well as domestic and international. The other is more specific to Las Vegas, and that is October 1, the shooting that happened at the Mandalay Bay. The combination of the book, the lecture series, and classroom gave my students the very best that they can get as far as an introduction into this hospitality industry. The lecture series worked for us over in Korea when I went there to speak to students on the evolution of the hotel and gaming business. One year I did 6 lectures. The next year I did 8 lectures at different universities and colleges. That brought an enormous amount of Korean students to our campus. But knowing front of the house to back of the house is what I bring to the classroom. And I want them to know they're gonna be responsible and accountable to their job description.
Okay, now I need to know a couple of things. This is going to be interactive because I got fired from Prim. I had never been fired in my life.
We have to work as a team. And I shared with them that acronym. Together, each achieves more. Together, the entire property will achieve more with you being a part of the team. So there are different philosophies and anecdotes that I share with the students and my lecturers share with the students. Hopefully, you'll learn something.